In the dead of winter, 9 experienced hikers set out to conquer the northern Urals. They were elite, they were prepared, and they were never seen alive again. Months later, rescuers finally reached their campsite deep in the frozen wilderness. What they found wasn't a mountain accident. Nothing about the scene matched the kind of disaster rescuers expected to see in the mountains. It looked like a crime scene, abandoned in the middle of nowhere. The deeper they investigated, the stranger every piece of evidence became. The hikers had slashed their way out of their tent with knives. The cuts were large, deliberate, and impossible to ignore. Not from the outside, from the inside.
The escape route had been created by the hikers themselves during the middle of the night. Why would experienced survival experts flee into a deadly blizzard without shoes or winter gear? The mystery became known as the Dyatlov Pass incident. Decades later, it would still remain one of the world's most debated, unsolved cases. The rescue team discovered the tent still standing against the wind, but it had been ripped open in multiple places. Inside were their boots, supplies, money, and food. Nothing had been stolen. Every valuable item remained exactly where it had been left. Whatever happened that night had terrified them enough to leave everything behind. Then, investigators found something even stranger, a clue that would make the mystery even harder to explain. 9 sets of footprints led away from the tent into the darkness. The tracks appeared calm and orderly. There were no signs of panic, struggle, or chaotic movement. They weren't running. At least, that wasn't what the footprints suggested. They were walking, slowly moving away from the only shelter they had in the frozen wilderness. If they were escaping an animal, why walk? If they were escaping an avalanche, where was the avalanche?
If they were escaping an animal, why walk? The deeper investigators searched, the less sense the evidence made. Every new discovery only created more unanswered questions. Then, the first bodies were discovered. What rescuers found next would shock even experienced investigators. Several victims had catastrophic internal injuries. The damage was severe enough to confuse medical experts. Crushed chests, fractured skulls, massive trauma. Injuries usually associated with extremely powerful impacts. Yet their skin showed almost no external wounds. The bodies lacked the visible damage normally expected from such force. It was like being struck by a powerful force from the inside.
The mystery grew even darker when scientists tested their clothing. The laboratory results introduced an entirely new layer of uncertainty. The Geiger counters detected abnormal radioactive contamination. Why would ordinary hikers be carrying radioactive traces? No clear explanation could account for the contamination. For decades, theories ranged from secret military tests to classified experiments and even supernatural explanations. Modern researchers later proposed a rare slab avalanche. It remains one of the most widely accepted scientific explanations today.
The theory explains the panic, the damaged tent, and the desperate escape into the snow. It offers answers to several major pieces of the puzzle, but it doesn't explain everything. The radiation, the strange injuries. Even today, Dyatlov Pass remains one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries.
Subscribe for more forgotten mysteries, lost histories, and the events that still defy explanation.